Hey, this is Peyton, and I'm ready to rant. And today I'm going to be ranting about a game that is upcoming, whose existence I had previously just completely dismissed out of hand because it was supposedly leaked and made the rounds on Twitter about a week ago now. And yesterday, it basically got all but officially confirmed, and that game in question is Warner Brothers Multiversus. Now, just so I'm not repeating myself a ton here, just know that the links to everything I'm going to be talking about here are in the video description, so you can check out those links if you want to know where I'm getting this from. And the very first thing we need to talk about is where this leak originated, because it comes from Reddit, and it comes from a post that was just called NetherRealm Leak, and it goes on to talk about a Warner Brothers platform fighter in development that features all of the various properties that Warner Brothers holds the rights to, including like the Flintstones and Johnny Bravo and Mad Max and a whole bunch of different things. Now, this post, again, is where it comes from, but this was basically the first thing that came out that I just kind of looked past. And I'm going to just jump ahead here a bit. There were some other things that happened in between this original post and the thing that happened yesterday that got me to solidly believe this is really happening. And the thing that happened is we got a screenshot of the roster for the game. Now, the roster does not feature the characters that were talked about there. Like, there's no Fred Flintstone, Johnny Bravo, or Mad Max on it. But it is most certainly a Warner Brothers-centric roster, and I need to just take a minute to highlight how absurd this roster is. Oh, but before I do, I will not be able to show the screenshot of the roster that is floating around out there. You can go look for it yourself if you want to see the original, but a video posted by Hungrybox, who is the person who posted the video with this screenshot in it, and he also put it on Twitter, Warner Brothers claimed both that video and that screenshot, which that is why I believe this is real. Like, the fact that those actually got claimed by Warner Brothers, it tells us everything we need to know in my eyes. So I'm actually going to do what PapaGenos did in his video, and on screen now you should see a recreation I made of the roster. And as I was saying, what a roster it is. Like, just the only one I'm going to explain is the guy in the top left. I just used a picture of the Pokemon Sawsbuck because the character in the top left, nobody knows who that is. I'm pretty sure it's like an original character for this game. It's like this like fluffy creature with antlers. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but that's why he's there. He's the closest approximation I could find, but where does one start with a roster like this? Like, where do you begin? So, like, you have all the superhero characters like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, which, okay, you know, that makes sense. Warner Brothers wants to promote those because, you know, they make those movies and they're big. And then you have Harley Quinn alongside them, which is fine. She makes perfect sense here. But, like, I didn't just choose the pictures at random. Like, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, like, they're all stylized. Like, they're not photorealistic or anything, but, like, they all have, like, a certain level of realism present with them. And then you have Harley Quinn, who literally looks like a cartoon character beside them. And then, like, you have Finn and Jake as separate characters from Cartoon Network, along with Steven Universe. And then you have Shaggy Rogers, and these two are the ones that broke me. Like, this is already ridiculous, having these established superheroes alongside these cartoon characters. And then you have Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, and Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. What? I don't even know what to say. On this character select screen, you have Gandalf, Rick Sanchez, and Bugs Bunny all standing side by side. This is just beautiful. in the world we live where so many companies own so many different properties, it's like seeing stuff like this, it should be more common than it is, but it's not. So I love it. I eat this stuff up. Like, this is completely ridiculous. In what reality would these three ever be on the same screen? But here they are, all standing side by side in a game that has yet to be released, and I still haven't fully soaked in the fact that this is real, but this is the roster of the game that we know so far, and it's most likely more characters are going to be added because, well, actually, before I get to that, I will also say the symbols, each character has a number symbol on their picture, which all of them are 1 in the screenshot. I'm not sure what the number is, but more obviously, each character also has like a symbol in the top right, and I'm pretty sure that relates to their play style. Like, some have swords and some have fists. I'm pretty sure what it is that it's like the symbol is going to be what that character excels at. A lot of people, like, I think most of them are pretty self-explanatory. Like, sword means they either fight with a sword or some kind of, like, melee weapon. Fist means they're a brawler. I think the spell is, like, they use, like, utility type things. Like, they're a bit more of a specialized character, or they fight with more projectiles. The one that most people seem confused about is the wings and halo that the original character in Steven Universe have. I'm pretty sure that just means they excel at mobility. Like, they're either like an all-rounder or like they excel at like movement. But to step away from this roster where Tom and Jerry can fight Superman somehow for a moment, to go back to what I was saying before, it's most likely that this roster is not the final one. And now we're going to start getting into some stuff that's kind of like, this isn't like as official in my eyes as what we've seen so far, which is this character roster and of course the fact that this game exists and it's most likely going to take the form of a platform fighter. This is more speculative stuff, but it's still worth noting. And the very first thing I want to address is that the biggest thing with this game is that it seems like it's going to be free to play. And more importantly, even than that maybe, is that it also looks like it's going to have crossplay and maybe even be on mobile devices, which that's a lot to soak in right there. So the free-to-play model, I really am not a fan of, to be honest. I much prefer paying up front for a game, and even if it gets DLC down the line like Smash Ultimate or Nick All-Star Brawl does, which Nick All-Star Brawl is going to come up again in this video, don't worry about that, but long story short, I much prefer paying for a game and knowing that, you know, I'm getting most of the content up front versus free-to-play where there's a chance that maybe this will even be like a rotational roster where every time you boot it up, you could see different characters unless you pay to keep certain ones around. And that's a little concerning, especially if we, again, as long as we're talking about this more speculative stuff that's come out about this game, if we're to believe what's been said, a couple different people have said this game looks cheap. And the fact that it looks cheaply made definitely kind of goes hand in hand with how most companies treat the free-to-play model, which is just to churn out stuff. But before I get into a whole different rant on free-to-play games, there is something to be said for the potential that comes with that. If it is free-to-play, of course that means anybody will be able to boot it up. And with a roster like this on offer, that definitely makes it more tempting than most other games in the free-to-play model. And even if it doesn't have like a AAA budget, there's nothing to stop it from having good gameplay at least, which, as we all know, gameplay is by far, especially in fighting games, the most important thing to make sure you nail. And beyond everything I've talked about here already, there's been even more information that's come out which addresses different aspects of the game, but we're already kind of deeper into like the speculative stuff than I think is really worth getting like worked up over. Like supposedly there's this feature or that feature, but I don't really want to get too much deeper into it because I'm even at the point where I'm like, what's the rating of this going to be? Because it's like, okay, we have kids cartoon characters here, But then we have like Rick Sanchez. So like, is he just going to be totally toned down, or are they going to like try to meet halfway and make it like a teen game or something? Who knows? Nobody knows yet. And it probably won't be long before we find out, because so much, like, the fact that this game's existence is out is enough. But like, the fact that we can see the roster like this, the reveal for this probably, like, at the absolute furthest, it might be like at the Game Awards. But if it's really like people are saying, like it's going to be on mobile devices and it's kind of like a free-to-play cheaper side type of game, maybe it'll just be dropped somewhere sooner. Who knows? Until then, we just have this roster image and the fact that Warner Bros. Multiversus is a real game as a fact. That's all we know right now, and quite frankly, again, with this completely absurd roster, that's all I need until we get a trailer for this game. But I cannot ignore the elephant in the room any longer, because this whole video has been me talking about a platform fighter being made by a studio who is not primarily known for making video games, wherein they threw together every single property they own under this new game. And of course, there was another game very recently released with almost the exact same story behind it, and that game is none other than Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. And people online have naturally pointed out the similarities between these two games. And unfortunately, as the internet discussion cycle tends to go, it shifted towards, oh, this is the new Nick All-Star Brawl. Nick All-Star Brawl, that's nothing anymore. Now this is the new platform fighter not made by Nintendo that features these licensed characters in it. And simply put, based off everything we know about this Warner Brothers Multiversus game, this and Nick All-Star Brawl are aiming for two very different audiences right off the bat. Because this game looks like it's going to try to be as accessible as possible, and it's like, where Nick All-Star Brawl, like, obviously both these games are running off the license to help boost sales, but like, Nick All-Star Brawl very much so is competitive focused. And this game already, from what we're hearing, it seems like this one isn't as concerned with being competitive focused, and it seems like it's more so just going to be as widespread as possible. Like, hey, you want to play a game with Finn, Superman, Batman, and like, I can't even, the roster is just still so bizarre to me, but like Tom and Jerry and like Rick Sanchez, you want to play a game with those characters? Boom, here you go. Like, that seems to be the selling pitch here already. Like, I guarantee the trailer for this game when it drops, it's not going to be like, it's got this super complex whatever systems. Like, I feel like the characters having those symbols next to them already kind of indicates that this one is going to be aiming for a more casual audience, where Nick All-Star Brawl is very clearly going for like the hardcore competitive players. So these two games, like, other than, again, all the similarities I listed before, which it's such a crazy coincidence. Like, it's like, were these companies waiting for Ultimate's run to end so that they could throw their hat in the platform fighter ring, like, to like see if they could get some of those Smash sales figures? But again, other than like these top level, like more superficial traits and the fact that they're both platform fighters, like, they really, I already am guessing, are going to be focusing on very different audiences. So I'm not really concerned about the future for either of these games. I feel like I'm almost certain it's going to be a very different audience. And if this game does end up being competitive focus, again, it's not like it's going to be exactly like Nick All-Star Brawl. They're both going to be their own game. And that's kind of what I want to end this video on the thought of, is that Nick All-Star Brawl, I was already so excited for, and I've been enjoying it. And now all of a sudden we have another platform fighter just out of the blue. Suddenly 2 more games in this tiny niche genre, and it's like these big studios just suddenly are making games in it. Like, this has never happened before, ever, in the history of the platform fighter, and it is just so exciting to have these games on offer. And I'm just happy. It just makes me so happy to see this genre that has always just been, this is Super Smash Bros. Like, you still constantly see people calling these games Smash clones right now. And if these games both end up doing well, it's not going to be like that in a couple years. Like, it's been decades, literally, only two, but still literal decades of this genre just being Super Smash Bros. And if these games just don't flop, like if they just do not flop, that's all they have to do, and have even a little success, other companies are going to see that success and try to make their own version of these games. And then that's going to be a little spiral effect. And this could very well end up being the catalyst to this genre growing, not as big as traditional fighters most likely, but growing to be like a respectable subgenre. And that is just plain awesome. I have always wanted to see more platform fighters, and something about 2021 is just bringing them out, and I will not be complaining about it. If Finn and Jake being able to fight as, well, you know, you've seen the roster, you know what matchups are possible already. But if that ridiculous roster ends up leading to more success for this genre in the future, I will not complain even a little bit. So if you're a platform fighter fan and you are seeing all this news coming out about these games, please go and play them and enjoy them, because right now I feel like we are entering into the golden age of this genre. It's so funny because Ultimate Ending, as bittersweet as it was, it seems like Ultimate Ending is just the very beginning for what this genre is going to be doing in the future. And I'm going to be tuned in the entire time because I love these games and I am so happy to see them finally flourishing after so long simply not. So let me know what you think of Warner Brothers Multiversus. What characters do you hope to see in this game? There's so many great choices here that I'm not even going to pretend like to start listing them. Like, if all of Warner Brothers is on the table, just go nuts with whoever you think's going to be in, because if Shaggy Rogers can be here, I don't think there's much that you can't reasonably expect. But at any rate, this has been Payden, and I'm done ranting.